10 weeks ago, this house on Ripley Walk in Corby was empty and run down. It's now been done up and is home to 6 previously homeless residents. I'm going to pop inside and speak to one of them. Gary, you live in this house?
I do, yes.
What was your situation before you moved in here?
I was sofa surfing, like between friends and family, sort of mostly my sister, like a few of my mates.
How come? How did you get into that situation?
Well, I lived in York with my parents and then sort of moved back down here to be with my son, and I couldn't find sort of anywhere to live permanently. So sort of went up to the council and they got me onto these guys.
And there are a lot of people in a similar situation to yourself, aren't there?
Yeah, all over Corby. It's just sort of finding them and getting them somewhere to stay.
So what's it like now having somewhere like this, a proper roof over your head and a room of your own?
It's great. There's freedom. I get my space. I can have my son stay over whenever. It's nice to have, just like I said, my own space, somewhere I can go and hide if I have to.
Kelly Lemon is the owner of this property. She spent £30,000 of her own money to refurbish it.
I'm very fortunate. I'm in a position where, with my skills, I'm able to take on a property, look at the best way from a landlord's point of view. However, in this instance, there's also been a real benefit to the local community. So this is why this project really appealed to me, because we could do both things, which was a win-win situation.
This has been a partnership between Kelly, Corby Borough Council and an organisation called LiveWise. Paul Palmer is the council's empty homes officer.
We do like landlords to realise their obligations and responsibilities to bring their properties up to standard and also to bring them back into use. We don't like to see property left empty for no good reason.
What's the number one reason that landlords give you for not actually doing anything with their empty properties?
There's a number of reasons landlords give for leaving property empty. Probate is often cited as a big issue. However, we get a lot of properties that have been left empty by tenants who have run up huge bills, they've trashed the property while they've gone, and the landlord, unfortunately, is left in a position of picking up the pieces. That is a big problem.
But there's a warning for tenants. Some landlords are apparently only after making a quick buck. That's according to Jonathan Chapman from LiveWise, which is part charity and part lettings agency.
The problem is that landlords are focused on the money rather than being actually focused on the tenants themselves. We talk about managing the tenants within the property. All of our properties meet current fire regulation standards. If they don't, potentially you're putting people's lives at risk.
Is it not being regulated properly?
HMOs are regulated once they get to a certain size. So if it's a 3-storey property with 5 bedrooms or more, then it's a compulsory licensing scheme that's in place. There are only 3 fully licensed HMOs in Corby. This is the 3rd one. We're now doing the 4th and the 5th ones. But there are lots of smaller properties where there may be only 3 or 4 tenants in there, but they don't necessarily have the right fire precautions in place.
And you think lives are at risk?
Absolutely. And we urge any tenants that feel that they're in a property where they're not fully protected, there aren't smoke detectors in the bedrooms, etc., they need to come forward and they need to either let the local authority know or they need to speak directly to ourselves or the fire service.
But for the new 6 tenants, they finally have a proper home, and for the neighbours, a run-down, vandalised house is no longer a blot on the landscape.